Recording in progress. Look at that.
Perfect.
Okay, so I think we are good. And we are starting our August CMCChat for Coastal Magic. And this is our August chat with some of our featured authors. My name is Jennifer, and we have also Tere Michaels with us, and Kait Ballenger with us, and Tonya Kappes with us. So we are going to talk about friendships, fictional friendships in stories that we love, in the stories that these authors write, and maybe some other in pop culture, you know, some of our favorite friendships. And what I think I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit when we're doing this is not so much even the friendships that are really great, but also I've been reading some books, and sometimes the friendships can kind of get in the way of our characters. So I want to make sure we talk about that as well. I think that's an interesting angle. So we're going to start with a super brief introduction and then move on to our first question. And if you are watching and you have questions for the group in general or any of our authors in particular, you are welcome to put those in the comments of the Facebook page where the video is. And we will ask those as we see them pop up. I'm going to be checking them, and I have other people checking for me too. So leave your questions and we'll get to those. And this will be fun. I'm excited. So I'm going to have us go around, and kind of the way my screen is set up, and I know everybody's is different, but the way mine is, we've got Tere at the top, Kait, and then Tonya. So why don't we do that? We're going to do just a brief introduction, and then we'll start with our first question. So Tere?
Hi, I'm Tonya Kappes. I write contemporary and slightly dystopian futuristic. And there's always friends in my books. Always.
Miss Kait?
I'm Kait Ballenger, and I write sexy paranormal romance, and I write about wolf shifters, so there's always packmates and friends in my books.
And I'm Tonya Kappes. I write Southern hospitality with a smidgen of homicide in cozy mysteries. And Cozy's amateur sleuth is nothing without her best friend next to her, snooping around and gossiping. Got a lot of those.
I love that you said it was a smidgen of homicide.
Just a smidgen.
That's great.
Just a smidgen.
Just a tiny little wee bit. Just a wee bit of homicide.
It's just little.
I have read it, and there is all of the homicide that you can homicide someone, and you homicide them. So
it's all in the bless your heart, it's gonna be all right kind of way.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Okay, so let's start with generic. Who are your favorite fictional friendships? Doesn't have to be in your books, doesn't even have to be in a book. Who are your favorite, like, these are the best fictional friends? I love the story. I love the way they interact. I love the way that they help each other. Who are your favorite fictional friends from anywhere?
Oh, okay, gosh, like if it had not be any of my books, one of my favorite is Blossom Street with Tere Michaels. I remember reading those back in the 80s, 90s, and their friendships of their little of the knitting class was just so great, and how each one in each book in her book, the Blossom books, focused on a different character and their character growth, and all the friends are in those, and I love that.
Oh, that's sweet. Anybody else have favorites?
So I know they're technically brothers, but I love Sam and Dean from Supernatural, and I know that's like the obvious answer, I feel like, but I've always loved them, and I love the actors' relationship too. I love Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki and how good friends they are, and it's just adorable.
Right.
Romance.
Yeah, I feel like their friendship as brothers, it was hit or miss.
Yes, it was a rocky friendship, right? But that's part of what I liked about it is I feel like it's true to form, because if you have a really long time friend, Like there are parts of your relationship that can sometimes be rocky, and then you get over it and you're better again and you love each other, and then it gets rocky. It's kind of like a marriage, you know?
Yeah.
I have a slightly weird answer, just because
I like it.
I'm taking a brain break from some of my reading, and I'm reading a middle grade series that's called Daphne and Velma. Yes,
cool.
Love the Scooby-Doo fame. Sort of middle grade mysteries and sort
I like it.
Friendship, but not as a joke. And honestly, I'm very much enjoying the series, and sort of the conflicts of when you start out as little kids and like, we're best friends forever. And then you, as you grow up, you become very different people, and you have to navigate all that expectation and the fact of how dare you be different. So that's on my mind right now as I think about it. And
that's cool.
I like that sort of any story where they start as children and then they have to navigate growing into a different person than you expected them to do, because you have these expectations like we'll live next door to each other and we'll go to work together and we'll have the same lives, and then every British book basically about girls in a boarding school essentially.
There you go.
Essentially that entire genre.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so how about of your own characters? Who are your favorite friendships in your own books? Whoever has an answer can go first.
So I guess the favorite fictional friendship in my series is probably between the hero of Fierce Cowboy Wolf, Maverick, and his High Commander, Colt Cavanaugh, because they're best friends. But I had fun with that in particular in this book because Maverick ends up being paired with Colt's younger sister. So.
Oh, that tests things a bit.
Yeah.
That's cool. So did they, is it too much of a spoiler to ask if they made it through? Or are they still friends at the end?
I don't think it's too much of a spoiler. They are still friends at the end. They are still friends. Colt is a little growly about it at first, but he gets over it. His sister is one of the first female elite warriors in the pack, so she's very like, you can't speak for me, and is not gonna let him make any decisions for her. So.
Gotcha. All right. Anybody else have favorite friends in their own stories?
I would have to go with Matt and Jim from the Fictional series, who start out as a one-night stand at a very low period in their lives, but eventually form this really strong friendship that sort of changes the direction, particularly of Jim's life, and that changes their outlook on life, because neither one of them have a particularly close male friend, and they're when they become friends. So they're in their 30s and 40s when they meet. So it's very hard for men of a certain age to make friends. Sort of thrown together to like coach a team or mow lawns or like these very specific male activities. I love them together. I just think they're very honest with each other and frank, and they can say whatever they want to each other without any sort of like, whoa, easy. So there's no barriers, and it's kind of fun writing that sort of relationship. Nobody is sugarcoating anything.
That's cool. Very cool. Tonya?
Yeah, I have in my Camper and Criminals Cozy Mystery Series, my cozy sleuth, she is in her late 20s, but she hangs around with a group of ladies that are called the Laundry Club ladies, because in the campground, you got to have a laundry club. So there's a laundromat. I love them. And so, but they're all in a different age. There's 5 of them, and they all kind of a different generation. So I like them because they're able to give what they're in their season of life and their opinions on things and how things kind of work out to help my sleuth not only grow her character throughout the series, but also to help her think logically or to help each other through times. And I also, it's not just all, fun and games, but even like one broke a hip, or, one's going through menopause and one's lost her husband and one's a smoker. So, she's got cancer scares or whatever. So they all have their own things, and they all pull together on their subplots. And I love that they all can come together at various ages and give different wisdom at those ages during the series. So that's one of my favorites.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. Do any of you have characters, and I think I know the answer to all three of you, but I'm going to ask anyway, just in case other people don't. Do any of you have characters that are friends that have to fight with the will they or won't they? You know, either two of the same sex characters in a LGBT story, or a male and a female character that are trying to be friends in a straight story, that have to deal with that stereotype of, can I be friends with this person? Can I do this and not have the relationship, you know, hanging over our heads kind of thing? Have you dealt with that in your stories? And if so, how do you make the friendship work with that kind of hanging in the ether up here?
Well, I do. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tara.
No, I'm thinking I need to ask Jen. Really? That's in my stories? Sorry, go ahead.
I said I know the answers.
Flummoxed right now.
Yeah. I mean,
I know the answer.
And that same series, like, she was, of course, with the Cozy Sleuth, is got with the detective. And so as she continues to go throughout the series, just recently, one of my books, they broke up, and my readers are like, oh my God, you know, they're dying. But I'm like, you know, really though, he was always questioning her, and she's such a strong character that, you know, she doesn't want to be questioned. You know, she's tired of some guy saying, you got to stop snooping. So it's like, kind of be like, you got to stop being who you are. And I had deliberately planned it that way. It wasn't like I just, you know, came up with that subplot, but I had planned it that way in order for other character growth of other characters. But yeah, so they had to learn to, he had to learn to be accepting that, you know, they weren't going to have a relationship because she wasn't going to alter who she was. And
Right.
So though they're still going to run into each other because, you know, he's the town sheriff. And so, you know, he's having to pretty much accept that he can't change her. And so their relationship is definitely, you know, a rocky relationship without any spoilers. So
still evolving.
Yeah, always evolving.
Anybody else have anything to share? All right. So how are you answering, Kate, or are you thinking?
I'm thinking about it because I'm trying to think of which way I want to take your question.
Okay. Whichever way works for you.
So I did do a little bit of that will they or won't they friendship, but that was a more friends to lovers trope, right? And I wrote that one for book 5, so that's not out yet. That's Wild Cowboy Wolf, and that comes out on November 30th. And that's Blaze, who's introduced in the previous books, and Dakota, who is best friends of the heroine in Fierce Cowboy Wolf. And that was fun to play with that will they or won't they, because I typically do enemies to lovers, and so doing friends to lovers was a nice change up there. But I think I also have, like, will they or won't they be friends with a couple other characters, like not almost like enemies to friends thing. I'm thinking specifically about Jared, Rogue in book 3, and Maverick, right? Like Jared ends up marrying Maverick's sister, and Maverick and Jared have previously been enemies for an extremely long time, and so now it's a will they or won't they be friends sort of thing in the later books. There's some mutual, like, dislike there, but also maybe some playfulness. So I guess both on the aspect of will they or won't they be friends to lovers, and will they or won't they be enemies to friends.
Right. Okay, so what do you think the biggest benefit to having your main character have a group of friends? Like, obviously your main character has a goal in the story. This is what they're trying to do. So how do you decide how much outside character involvement you're going to use with your main characters in order to kind of get them there. Do you feel like you need those other characters to kind of help them along, or is it to fill out the story? How do you decide how many characters you're going to include and how those friendships are going to affect your main character?
I actually teach a class called It Takes a Village, which is all about supporting characters. And so my philosophy is always relationships with other characters outside of intimate family and outside of the love interest reveal who a character is. Like they can take different sides of themselves. They can explore different feelings. A lot of my characters tend to be loners who eventually stumble into deeper friendships and relationships with people. So I find it as an excellent way to build layers into your main character and into their world. How are they with a friend from work versus how are they with somebody they meet in a different situation or in their life? So I'm always a big proponent of this person is coming to their life to do what? To help them explore things, to help them realize something about themselves. So as the title of my class says, it takes a village. I like well-populated books. Nice way of putting it.
Anybody else?
I would say for me, as like a general rule, I don't limit myself on how many secondary characters and like friends I'm going to put in the book, just because when you're writing wolf shifters and like pack mates, they're all living together. Like in my series, it's on one big like ranch, so they're all in very close proximity. So characters are going to pop up here and there. And I think readers like to sometimes see the previous heroes and heroines show up and kind of make a brief cameo. But I will say that I do limit myself to which characters get heavily involved in the plot line. So like, I don't put a number on how many of them make a cameo, but I definitely don't go over like 2 or 3 secondary characters that like play a big role in that particular story. And typically I go with like 1 character from a previous book and 1 from an upcoming book, like, so that way we kind of get the best of both worlds. Sometimes there's maybe 1 more, but most of the time I try to keep it pretty limited, just because I think that for me, you want that support and community that Terry was talking about, that it takes a village, so that way the characters can grow and kind of have a redemption arc or character growth. But at the same time, like, eventually that growth has to come from within themselves. So you don't want it to be like overwhelming with the number of characters on the page, at least is the method I take for it.
Gotcha.
And for me, every sleuth in all my series, they always have a best friend, because it's no fun gossiping and trying to snoop by yourself. So, yeah.
That is true.
Very important for my girl. Even if it is a ghost in one of the series, you know.
Okay. I'm going to take a peek real quick here. I was looking at my phone and I wasn't seeing any comments pop up. And then I realized that even on my phone, I have to refresh. Now there's 14 comments and I'm like, oh no. All right. So let's go through this real quick. Tonya is an amazing storyteller and her books keep you glued and wanting more. So there's that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so Crystal wants to know, has a best friend character ever become a bigger part of the story than you originally planned? That was actually going to be one of my questions later, but since somebody asked, why don't we go ahead and do that? Have you ever had a character that was a friend character in one story, all of a sudden, unbeknownst to your original plans, decide they're taking over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I ask my readers, who's your favorite character? You know, I want them to say the sleuth, right? My cozy sleuth.
Right.
But they always pick the one that's sassiest, that's got the worst habits. Like, they love one of my characters, that she's super sassy. She's a smoker. She wears sponge curlers. So I think it's because she's quirky. They love her the best because really my main character is not quirky. I need the secondary character to be quirky. So they always say that secondary character. And so even if I don't write her like a big part into even though all my books are standalones, they're in series because they're all the same sleuth in the same town and the same secondary characters. But even if I don't write her as a big part of the mystery, she's in there, you know, in the background. And like, oh, there wasn't a lot of Dottie in this one. I'm like, okay. You know, so she's grown on her own. So yeah.
That's right. You need to make Dottie keychains. That would be hilarious.
Oh yeah, they love
that. Would be hilarious.
Yeah. There is Dottie merchandise in the store.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to take a peek.
Ridiculous.
All right, ladies. Who else has somebody that has taken over? Terry?
Yes, back to Jim. Jim was supposed to be a one-night stand. And in the middle of this, he's in the first book, he is in a chapter and a half, approximately. And before he got on the plane to go back to the West Coast, I was like, well, I need to give him a happy ending. Like, apparently he needs to have his own book, and that became book 2. And then the rest of the series became about the two couples and their relationship and their friendship and their wider growing circle of friends. But yeah, I was halfway through a one-night stand scene and I was like, I physically cannot leave him like slightly unhappy getting on a plane and leaving. Like I have to give him a happy ending. So
that's fantastic. There are 2 comments here. Both says, I love Matt and Jim. So people are very happy that was a thing that happened. Miss Kait?
So mine was kind of like Terry's. I had a secondary character take over a book. So in Cowboy Wolf Trouble, Colt Cavanaugh was just supposed to be a brief secondary character because Maverick's book was supposed to be next. And if you've read my series, you know that this is book 4. So Maverick's story was not next. So it ended up being that Colt was the hero of book 2 because when I got done with book 1, everybody was like, we need to know Colt's story. And I was like, I did not plan to write Colt's story. I guess he got a story. So, and now he's like one of my fan favorites. Like, I've got like a mini fan club of Colt Cavanaugh fans.
Oh, that's great.
Love it.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's see here. We've got wolf shifters that are awesome. So score 1 for wolf shifters. DeLorean says, oh my God, the dinner scene and Evan's face. So,
yeah.
Let's see here.
Not about the friendship, the boyfriend.
DeLorean wants to know, is there a difference between a supporting cast member and a best friend or supporting character? So do you make a conscious decision between secondary characters that fill kind of the space of your story and characters that you want to have actively be important to your main character? Do you plan that out, or does that kind of just happen organically? And what differentiates that in your mind?
I plan it. I'm trying to think, like, it's very specific because I'm crafting a specific friend for them for a reason. So I've had smaller characters become larger characters, you know, like what's going on here, and they become a supporting character out of, you know, you were supposed to be here for a page and a half. But best friends, they are absolutely crafted in a specific way.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The same. I mean, they're all my characters that are in the book have a purpose. They're not just there to be on the page. So, you know, they all have like a job. Like when I sit down to start, because cozies are written in series. And so when I sit down to write, you know, I have to pick out a librarian, a local baker, a local, you know, gas station attendant or something like that. So in the books, and I do write first person, then if she needs to go to somebody's house and she knows her best friends is the house cleaner, which she is, she's like, oh, I need to go snoop. You need help today? And so it's kind of, that kind of a thing. So everyone specifically has a job, and everybody knows that too. Like, they know that if she needs to go to the prison, she's going to go see somebody that she put in prison 2 books ago. So, everyone, and then those past characters do come back that were, that were killers, because she's like, hey, tell me, do you know anything in the big house? So, so they definitely have a purpose. Yeah.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Lots of people talking about liking the friendships and the characters in everybody's books. Y'all have to make sure you go back through and read the comments, because there's some funny ones. Let's see here. DeLorean says, I love long, history-rich friendships. Tina says, what? I don't even know where that came from. That was from 5 minutes ago. I don't know what somebody said 5 minutes ago, but Tina was shocked. We'll have to go back and see the timestamp on that one. Okay, so that's it. I'm caught up on comments for now. So now that I know I got to keep refreshing that, I will make sure that I do that. My next question is something I started at the beginning with. Obviously, when you think of a friendship, it's a good thing. You have friends and they help you and they do good things and they're part of your positive world experience. But I have read in some books where the friends kind of get in the way. Like, they have their own idea of what the main character should be doing. And that doesn't always necessarily work with what the main character wants to do. So they have a tendency to be more of a hindrance than a help. So what do you think about those characters and the conflict that might cause? Have you written characters like that? How did you approach that? Do you like relationships like that where the friendship can kind of get in the way? Anybody?
I like it to a certain extent, as long as it's like good meaning trouble, if that makes sense. Because since I'm writing romance and I want it to be, I'm not going to ever say my books are happy and fluffy, right? They always end happy. But since it takes a lot to focus on, the dissolution of a friendship and then restoring it, or vice versa, I feel like that's kind of hard to do with a secondary character just within the length of a romance novel. So yeah, typically the friends can cause trouble, but it's a lovable trouble, we were trying to help sort of thing, right? But gotcha. It went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
When I wrote Groomzilla, the main character, Daniel, his best friend, Ander, is boys' school, boarding school, unhappy lives. They sort of met and sort of clung onto each other, but they've grown into very different people. And Daniel spends most of his time managing Ander. And he eventually gets a reality show about his wedding, and Daniel must manage Ander. And he has to make a decision of when does he start living his own life and stop running Ander and let him go and make his own mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually really enjoyed writing that because they had a great friendship, but there were some things that were dysfunctional about it. And I kind of exploring that as part of Daniel's character, that eventually he had to be like, I love you, but go stand over there. I think the other weird friendship that I have loved writing are Knox and Rachel from the Vigilante series. Yes, I called them friends, even though they spend a lot of time threatening to kill each other.
Right.
That's my kind of book.
For three books, they spend a lot of time if I didn't need you for the next 5 minutes, I would kill you. And so their sort of hostile relationship evolved to the point when they both realize that the only other person who understands them in their group of humans, most of whom who grew up like normal people, they understand each other. And so they're friends, but they'll neither of them will ever admit that under the pain of death. But they are actually friends because they understand each other. So I kind of enjoyed exploring some different, I love writing friendship, but it was kind of fun to sort of go into different pathways where it wasn't just you're my best friend, I love you, yay.
Right. And that's part of why I wanted to do this panel, is because there are so many different types of friendships, you know,
Yeah.
and they serve different purposes and in different lives and different parts of lives, you know. And I just thought that it was so interesting to see the different ways that people portrayed that. Tonya, did you have anything?
Yeah, so also I have a lot of family in my books because they're
Right.
Southern and we're big Southern people. And so the mama, you know, the sleuth's mama is always just beside herself and fiddling with her pearls because her daughter is getting herself in trouble. So she is not below the belt of actually having her over for chicken pot pie and slipping a little laxative in so she can't go sleeping that night. So,
Right.
you know, so the mama is always trying to get her, you know, get their kids, you know, to be safe. And I even have a dad and I have a ghost grandfather in one of my books, you know, and he always is trying to slip up the sheriff, because his granddaughter is the sheriff. And so, you know, they it's mainly the family that is wanting the sleuth to be, you know, say that they will, that they will go, you know, stop her at anything, or like plan a party where she can't go and she's missing out on some big clue or something. So yeah, you know, it's not always you know, Snoopy roses and exciting. So yeah, you got to have those characters. I think that also you know, and that also brings in how they deal with their family as part of their characteristics. Like, you know, Tara was saying, it takes a village, right? And it just doesn't extend. It's family, friends, your environment. And so you know, I try to write all those emotions throughout the books.
Absolutely. So are there any friendships, are there any friends in any of your books that have characteristics of your own friends? Like, have you found yourself putting your own friends, characteristics of your own friends into the friendships and the secondary characters of your books? What is that face, Tonya?
You never ask an author that.
I don't even know what you're talking about, Jennifer.
I'm not saying you have to say who.
Shit.
I mean, I can't believe nobody in my books would act this way. No.
Oh my gosh. That's so fun. That's fun. You wouldn't have to name names. You could just wink.
I'll tell you. So no joke. My mom, and she gets so mad when I say this, she's probably watching, but she is a Southern mama, and she is just like that. And so when I write I do a weekly newsletter, and I always put in there like something funny that's happened, and generally involves her. And to make a long story short, she had broken her arm, and I said, "Mom, we got to go." And she literally sat down in a chair and would not go to the emergency room because I had a top knot on my head, and she said somebody's going to see me and she'd be embarrassed. So I had to go inside. She would not move. I had to go inside and fix myself up and put on lipstick. And so I put that in the back of one of my books and said, "Hey, if you like how my characters are, this is really kind of like my life. And let me tell you this story." And I said, "If you want to hear stuff like that about my real life, sign up for my newsletter." And you would not believe how many newsletter signups I get from that story. And yeah, it's crazy. So
Hilarious.
Yeah, I do. And I love my mom. We're super close, but she is just too good not to write.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, some other people I might know because I might have wanted to kill them before.
Yeah, maybe. Just a smidge, right? Just
Yeah.
a smidge.
Well, my ex-boyfriend said, or my ex-husband one time said to me, "Do I need to read your books?" I said, "Only if you want to know your demise." So, just a smidge.
That's funny. Just a smidge.
Yeah.
Just a smidge. Yeah. Just a little bit murdery. Just a tiny bit.
Just a
Homicide.
tiny,
Just a
just a
little
little shanking. Just a tiny bit of shanking.
Little bit. Okay, ladies, we are heading towards our 45-minute mark. Is there anything else about friendships in your stories that you think is important for people to read or to know? And I'm going to look and make sure we don't have any more questions. Nope, we are at the end of our questions, so that's good. What do you think? Is there anything else about the friendships in your stories that you think is something important? Anything that you hope people take from the friendships in your stories?
I kind of liked what Tonya was saying, because she was talking about the mom character, right? And And I think sometimes the friends in fiction can become your family, right? So there's a very thin line between friends and family, particularly if you write like found family type stories. And I think that's especially true in what I'm doing with, you know, the Seven Ring Shifters, because they're a pack, right? So like there are friendships within the pack, but ultimately they are all also a family group in the sense that they are one with their pack mates, even if they're not like, you know, related by blood sort of thing. So.
Yeah. So one of my characters, she's an orphan, you know, and so her foster family, you know, so really, you know, she didn't have the greatest life. Her family got killed in a fire. But so she has really, her friends, you know, she has grown up, has become her family. And then I have a seasoned sleuth who's in her 50s, because, you know, I write people like I am. And so she is a widow. And so her friends have really, you know, rallied around her, and that's her family. And then the community, you know, like Tara was saying, it's like the village. So the community all became like a family, and they all kind of look out, you know, for each other. And I think it's so important, you know, for the story, for that friendships. I think it's one of the top 3 heartbeats of all my books.
Good.
All my books are found family. A lot of it is just people who are looking to create a family that they did not experience before, or they're trying to recreate because something happened. And so it's sort of interesting to look at. I'm trying not to give spoilers away. So within my Fake Love and Devotion series, they kind of move from couples who have dinner sometimes and become friends to by book 7. They're an actual family. It's like a family tree. And to me, it harkens back to when I was younger, all I wanted to read was like multi-generational sagas. Like the families and, you know, the things passed down to them. I was fascinated by that. And I sort of realized, even with found families, that's what I'm doing too. Like each generation is, you know, referring to people as cousins. And I grew up like this, where you go, oh, my cousin. Well, they're not really my cousin. It's a really long story. And so I sort of love that. And I think that comes through in all of my stories. Like, they're not with friends. It's found family. It's consciously creating a huge network and system, and then the next generation that comes in. So I just love doing that, and it happens in all of my books.
Yeah, and I relate to that personally, because I have many brothers and sisters that my mother and father did not give birth to. So I totally get that. Totally get that. There was one more question that snuck by me, so we're going to hit this one before we wrap up. It says, a best friend knows all the secrets. Do you have a case in your story where the best friend gave something away at the worst time? Kate's giggling, and he's nodding. Okay, so
it's for murder. So my seasoned sleuth, that she's a mail carrier, and mail carriers know a lot about you. Let me tell you, y'all have no idea. So, anyways, so she was widowed, but then she was widowed because for years he had a second family that she didn't know about. And so her best friend had been privy to that information like a week or so before he died in the car wreck, and had withheld it from her. Wasn't going to obviously keep it from her. It just happened to be at that timing. So that was really trying for their friendship. Yeah.
I'm sure. Kate, you were nodding.
So I don't want to give mine away because it's in Fierce Cowboy Wolf, and it just came out like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So but the heroine Sierra is best friends with one of her packmates, and the packmate is named Dakota, and Dakota is, I guess, a little too obvious with Sierra's feelings about a certain someone at inconvenient times. So So yeah, that creates some fun.
Yeah, don't you love it when that happens?
Yeah.
Like, arm shot.
Oh, I know you're trying to help, but I don't need your help, right? Like,
yeah. Miss Terry, do you have anything you would like to add there, my dear?
No, I really don't. Well, now
okay.
I'm thinking about it, but I'll let y'all know later. I'll put a comment on
You can add it in the comments later.
Right
now. Okay, my dears. So why don't we go in reverse order? We'll start with Tonya and then go to Kait and then go to Terry. Why don't you let people know where they can find all of your information online, what you've got coming out between now and Coastal Magic that they can well, maybe not if you have monthlies, then you can give an overview. What should readers look for from you, and where can they find you online?
Well, obviously TonyaKappes.com, and I am an avid Facebook and Instagram user, some TikTok, but anyways, but yeah, just all online. I'm there, and between now and then, I think, I do a book or two a month, and so I'm ahead by 4 books, and so
right.
Anyways, but it's going to be about 4 more in the Camper series, 1 more in the Baker series, the magical Baker series, and then 2 more in the Mail Carry series, and a couple of Killer Coffee series. So a couple of seasonal books, like and cozy mystery readers love seasonal books. So
yes,
there's Valentine's all the way to Christmas to Thanksgiving,
Halloween.
and Halloween. So they can expect everything they've expected for me from the past 11 years.
Sounds good.
Sounds
good.
Thank you.
No problem. Miss Kait, how about you?
So readers can find me at kaitballenger.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there. You can also find me on TikTok these days. I love TikTok, so I'm having a good old time over there. My handle's just at Kait Ballenger. And then I'm also on, the usual ones, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the different platforms. I'm there. So you can come find me. And I have Wild Cowboy Wolf, which is book 5 in the 7 Rain Shifter series, is coming out on November 30th. And then I also have a Christmas novella in that same universe that is coming out in an anthology on December 7th, and that's coming out with a couple other paranormal romance authors. So I'm really excited about that one.
Very cool. All right, Terry, where can we find you online?
TereMichaels.com. Sorry, there's yes, Terry, we need hints, Terry, hints. Okay. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm there occasionally. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see pictures of nature and also my tomatoes. You will be getting pictures of my peppers because they just started growing. Hashtag Suburban Pioneer. But on this Friday on Facebook and Instagram, I will be announcing the new series for 2022. But the first book will be coming out in December, excuse me.
Oh, I was like, wow.
Sorry.
Awesome.
December.
So December, yes, there'll be a book 1 in the new series comes out, and I will be dropping hints, and I think people will be excited about it. I hope.
I am positive that people will be excited about it because I am people and I am excited. So. All right, ladies, thank you very much. I appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit tonight. We are doing these chats once a month, so we'll be doing another one in September, and I will have all of the information posted about that shortly. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate everybody who was watching and who asked questions. If you have other questions, you can put them in the comments and maybe we can try to get to those later. Y'all have a good night, and we will see you next month.
Thanks, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.